After reviewing Tashen's The History of Graphic Design my girl gifted me, she offered to repeat with her Tashen's 20th Century Fashion. Initially, I had reservations as I am not that much into high fashion. Eventually, scrolling through the pages inspired me to discuss brands cherished by my cultural heroes and perhaps even find a coherent and profound message across the whole book. 20th Century Fashion. Written and edited by Jim Hyman and Alison Nieder, Tashen's 20th Century Fashion reveals that, quote, the birth of couture coincides with the invention of the sewing machine and the beginning of the industrial age. Mechanization and automation were creating mass-produced clothing for a burgeoning middle class. Unquote. Telling the story of modern fashion, Tashen's 20th Century Fashion reflects on the last 100 years of style. It includes 400 fashion advertisements, capturing how exclusive salon businesses evolved into a global industry with countless trends. Close to 600 pages, Tashen's 20th Century Fashion includes a captivating image selection derived from Jim Hyman's archive. Unlike the history of graphic design, this is actually mainly images. It begins with the story of how Dior's 1947 collection leaves the war and austere masculine styles behind. Yet, besides haute couture, the book covers casual, sports, work, and even streetwear. Workwear. One such brand is Lee, which apparently is celebrated by legends like Pete Rock and featured in iconic films like Star Wars and Beat Street. According to a survey, besides hip-hop pioneers in the 80s and the 70s, Lee was actually preferred by many workers in the 1940s. Also included are Levi's and Converse, of which but a few posters are provided. Authenticity. Legendary images are not the only way Tashen's 20th Century Fashion teaches culture and history. Also included are iconic quotes from some of the industry's goats, and in my humble opinion, reflecting on those reviews' quintessential messages communicated throughout the land. One example is that fashion is not some static standard, but a dynamic art form best expressed through individuality and creativity. Badly dressed people. The quote conveying this best is from Jean-Paul Gaultier, quote, "It is always the badly dressed people who are most interesting," unquote. The quote expresses Gaultier's avant-garde designs and believes that personal style and unique character actually trump conventions. It provokes that those defying societal expectations and expressing uniqueness have a more significant impact and are more memorable. And apparently, it is really people who embrace that we look up to in all walks of life. Beyond fashion. Gaultier's message highlights the value of individuality and the richness of diversity. Going beyond fashion, the quote inspires being one's own designer, tastemaker, and perhaps even influencer. Let me know if you agree. It also finds common ground with spiritual development systems, which perceive the individual as a unique, bona fide expression of the divine and universal. Chic. It may be worth reflecting on Gaultier's quote alongside Bonnie Cashin's saying, quote, "Chic is where you find it," unquote. Revealing that style is not tied to conventions or places, this stresses that chic can be found in unexpected and non-traditional expressions. And for hip-hop heads, I suggest swapping out chic with rad, dope, fresh, or whatever you use. Cashin emphasizes fashion's subjective nature and the importance of personal taste and discovery. Like Gaultier, she supports the notion that true style often lies outside traditional fashion. No rules. According to Alexander McQueen, quote, "It is a new era in fashion. There are no rules," unquote. Revolutionizing fashion itself, McQueen advocates for creativity and self-expression over adherence to traditional norms. He underscores the liberation from strict fashion guidelines, encouraging experimentation and individuality. In my humble opinion, McQueen's quote resonates with Gaultier's idea that the most interesting people are those who dress unconventionally, showcasing uniqueness and personality. Dates. Similar to the history of graphic design, Tashen's 20th Century Fashion includes dates emblematic of fashion and particular models. One increases awareness that between 1985 and 86, Nike introduced Air Jordan and Run DMC dropped My Adidas, both having enormous significance to hip-hop's fashion aspect. This is included in the punk rock chapter, alluding to the fact that punk rock actually influenced hip-hop. Breaking. While I've been accustomed to associating breaking with Adidas shell toes and Puma suedes, Tashen's 20th century fashion shows that Vans were also into breaking. Seeing it in the book made me recall that in Beat Street, some of the breakers actually rock Vans.
Hip-hop.
Speaking of all this, Tashen's 20th century fashion concludes with a section on hip-hop meeting high fashion. While it mentions the invention of Fubu and Fat Farm, it says nothing about brands like Kazao, Goliath, Bape, Carhartt, Dickies, or how 90s rappers obsessed over Versace and Gucci. Also, how hip-hop influenced skate, BMX and snowboard gear. I'd be happy to hear the author's discussion on this, so refer to some content if you know any. Boundless Fashion. Jam-packed with captivating images and history, Tashen's 20th century fashion reveals that the essence of true style is beyond conventional norms and rigid rules. It reminds us that the most inspiring individuals are often those dressing unconventionally, such as that style is found in unexpected places, especially in the current era of boundless fashion. Great minds. I'm grateful to my girl who's a current web and a former fashion designer for providing the book, and I appreciate the wisdom of the great designers who above all else are actually great minds. But that's just my opinion. Share yours in the comments and thank you for your time.